All right, so today I want to talk about another Thomas Sowell quote. Now, this is something I've brought up quite a few times before, probably even made a video about it, but again, it's so relevant that I just wanted to have a little rant about it. So, anyway, he says too many political solutions are solutions to problems created by previous political solutions and will be followed by new problems created by their current solutions. Now, this is the problem with how things are done these days, that every single problem, it seems, the government solution to it on both sides, I would argue as well, specifically the left, but on both sides is let's just do more of the same. We got too many unemployed poor people. Guess what? Let's just give everybody free money, which is code for let's basically just pay people to stay poor. And not only that, too, housing's too affordable. Guess what? Let's just create even more regulations, which just makes housing even more, expensive. Let's just allow unlimited amounts of foreigners to buy up real estate. So it's just absolutely insane. I could go on and give examples like that. So, um, yeah, that is the problem. Like, oh, well, not too many people, aren't earning enough for their jobs. Guess what? Let's just create more regulations that, more hoops that people have to jump through, which again just makes it even more, um, stuff nowadays is too unaffordable. Guess what? Let's just continue to deflate our currency even more. We're not going to allow wages to go up because of all the terrible government policies, but we're going to continue to allow housing prices to go up. We're going to continue to allow the cost of living to go up because of the carbon tax and runaway inflation. Just off the top of my head, a couple things. That's what I've been saying all along. Like again, if you look at median wages in Canada, they haven't gone up over the last 20 years. I don't think they've gone up since like the late 90s, early 2000s. They've been stagnant. But guess what? Housing prices have consistently gone up. Inflation's consistently gone up. Look at the price of food. The cost of living is through the roof, especially in some of these bigger cities, the Vancouvers and the Torontos of the world. The cost of living is through the roof. And why is it through the roof? Well, again, many reasons. Government regulation. You have these. I made these videos about the government. Oh, we want to make the cost of housing more affordable, but we don't want to make we don't want the cost of housing to go down. Like they literally argue that in the same thing. Now, what is the goal here? They have to pander to both groups because there's two groups of people, the politicians. I mean, there's many groups, but the groups they're talking about when it comes to buying houses is okay. Well, they want to pander to the young crowd, the people that are buying houses, or maybe they're looking to upgrade. Um, and they also want to pander to largely the boomers, the people whose a lot of their net worth, in fact, a lot of these people, probably pretty much all of their net worth, is tied up in the value of their house. And everybody knows with half a brain that has, two sticks to rub together, um, knows that the cost of housing is a lot higher than it should be. It's artificially high. Why is it artificially high? Because the government continues to put in. I mean, there's more than one reason. I mean, immigration's definitely one. The fact that immigration's going faster than we can keep up with, which is going to drive up the cost of housing because the demand is a lot higher than the supply, right? It's literally like the first thing you learn about economics: demand and supply. When the supply or when the demand goes way up and the supply stays pretty much the same, guess what? Prices go up. And that's the other problem too when it comes to a lot of these cities, because there's so many regulations with zoning and just garbage like that. People can't build new stuff. So again, if you want to live in Toronto, the amount of housing is pretty much set, and at the very least, it can't go up with the demand, right? Like if you want to say, oh yeah, we can build, okay, the amount of new housing isn't going up with the demand, and there's no arguing that because if it was, the cost of housing wouldn't be going up so much, right? Like it's literally just basic economics. And why is the cost of a house in Toronto more expensive than the cost of a house in rural Saskatchewan? Well, because there's a lot more demand. So many more people want to live in Toronto than rural Saskatchewan, right? So it's just literally like basic economics, like first the first stuff you learn about economics. So that's one thing to talk about. Again, the cost of living. You have all these people, and what is the cost of living has gone up. For many reasons. Number one, I mean, immigration's a big one because immigration will drive down the median wages. Why? Because immigrants from the third world come in and here, 30, 40 grand a year, 50 grand a year. Yeah, I'd love that because that's a lot more than what they'd be making in their home country. The problem with that is that drives down the wages for existing companies. And the left solution to it is let's just regulate the corporations more. Well, no, that's not going to do anything because then if you regulate the corporations too much, guess what happens? They go overseas. Again, you see that with all of it. Again, California, perfect example. They are the furthest left state. I mean, arguably. I mean, I highly doubt there's a state that's further to the left than them, especially when you add up all the other stuff. But guess what? Businesses are leaving there right, left, and center. Why? Because the regulations and the taxes are out of control. And this is the problem with these leftists, that they're so ignorant. They're so ignorant because they're in a massive echo chamber, right? Because they don't expose themselves to views that differ from their own, and the views that they expose themselves to are almost always just people that agree with them, right? So um, they basically just associate with people that just agree with them, just making them even more confident in their position, right? So you hear these things like California, everybody's leaving California. Well, guess what's going to happen? Well, those same people are just going to vote other states to be like California because they're too ignorant to realize that their stupid political beliefs is what caused the problem in the first place. And the other problem too is that California is just going to continue to do more and of the same. Like, do you honestly think that California is going to be like, yeah, we tried the whole far left thing. We tried the, basically paying poor people to be poor. We tried the whole massive amount of taxes and regulations thing. We tried that. It didn't work. We're going to have a free market now. Like, that's laughable, right? Like, they're not going to do that. They're just going to double down on what they've done before. So again, this is the problem, the biggest problem when it comes to politics nowadays. And I guess the even bigger problem is that um, there is no convincing the majority of the population. I mean, this is the big thing, the biggest problem when it comes to politics these days is that there is no convincing the average person, or at least the majority of the average people, what needs to be done. I mean, you take climate change, for example. I was listening to an interview of, Aaron O'Toole, who's running for the conservative leadership race. And again, I'm not a huge fan of the guy, but he brought up something saying, well, one of the big things he hears from people when he's campaigning is, oh, what are you guys going to do for climate change? You need a stronger climate change plan, even though the conservatives' climate change plan is far more than we should be doing. And this is the problem, is that what we should be doing with climate change is pretty much nothing. Why? Because it largely doesn't exist. And if it exists, it is to such a small degree that it's not something we should be worrying about. But you tell the average person that, there is no way in hell that they're going to elect you. So this is the problem when it comes to politics. I mean, it's the same stuff when it comes to welfare. Well, we need to stop giving people free money. But what is the average person hear when you say that? Is, you want people to die. No, it's, that giving people free money only enables their bad decisions and creates more bad decisions in the future. Again, this is another basic law of economics, is that what you incentivize you get more of, and what you de-incentivize you get less of. So the more of an incentive there is to be poor, in other words, the more benefits and the more money you can get to be poor, the more poor people you're going to get. And the less of an incentive, the less likely. Again, it's such basic stuff, it's not even funny. But the problem is that probably 90% of the population doesn't realize that, right? So that is one of the many things. So I wanted to have a little rant today. But again, the main point being is that the reason society is so stagnant nowadays, and that, like I say, median wages have pretty much grinded to a halt. And again, when you account for inflation, median wages are actually going down, especially when you account for the cost of living as well. Like, if median wages would have kept up at the levels they were going at in like the 80s and the 90s, we should be pushing 100,000 right now. But the reality is that we're at like, 55, 60, if that even. I think we're in that 50 to 60 range, and it depends on the province, depends on the area, but yeah, that is the main problem. So anyway, I just wanted to make a video about that. So if you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check me out on those other platforms. They're all linked up in the description, so make sure you follow me there as well if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more.